This is a beginner Blender Python tutorial where we'll be going over a script that creates a rolling cube animation. Hey, I'm Victor Stepanov. I'll be guiding you through this beginner Blender Python tutorial. Today we're going to be creating this animation you see on your screen. We're going to be parenting some empties and making this cube roll. And if you stick around, at the end of the video I'll give you a couple of challenges to solidify the knowledge you gained. Okay, let's get started. I opened up a new scene in Blender and I'm going to navigate to the scripting workspace by scrolling right up here and clicking the scripting workspace and hitting new right here. I'll also clear the scene by hitting A, X, and then delete. And we're ready to get going. The building blocks for the scene is just a cube and some empties that are going to be parented to one another. I'm going to go ahead and start outlining the code with some comments right here in the script editor. Okay, here are my comments. And remember, hash character means that it'll be a line that's ignored by Python. So you can write some human readable text right here for you and for someone else who's reading your script. So the very first thing that we need to extend the functionality of Python with a BPY module. Next, we're just going to be creating a cube. We need to get a list of locations. So the empties need to be in a particular order and in particular locations to make this animation work. And then we're going to loop over that list of locations and place those empties in the correct place. To get the code for creating a cube, it's pretty straightforward. We can just do this by hand and find the code in the info panel right here. I'm going to hover over the 3D viewport and press Shift A and then select Mesh Cube. And now we have a cube and have some code right here in the info panel. I'm just going to go ahead and copy that and then paste it right here. I'm going to leave all these parameters that you can pass in as default. So it says the scale, location, rotation, and size, and so on. To make sure that we can use this function right here that creates a cube, we need to import BPY. So that's what I'm doing right here. And now I can go ahead and run our script and make sure that this works. So I'm going to hit the run button, and as you can see, we are getting a cube right in the middle of the scene. Let's create a reference to this cube and move the cube into position. So here is the variable for the cube, and we're just getting the currently active object. After you add an object into the scene, the active object is going to be that last thing that you added into the scene, which is the cube, and we're just getting a reference to it. Think of it as a sticky note in Python code. To move the cube, I can just move it by hand and then copy the code again. So I'm just going to move it a bit on X, Y, and Z. And then I'm just going to copy the code right here and then paste that into the text editor. And instead of this, I'm going to use our variable for cube. And instead of using this list notation or array notation, I'm just going to use the more human readable way by using the property name like so. So this, I want this to be 1, -1, and then 1. Now let's run our script. And okay, now we have our cube in the position that we want. Okay, now I need to select the locations of our empties, and I'm going to hit Control Space to get a better view, and then hit Tab to go into edit mode so we can see the verts. And I want to place an empty in each one of these verts. So the very first vert is going to be this one. I'm going to place an empty there. Then I'm going to place an empty there. Then here and then here. And I'm going to be parenting them in this particular order and parenting the last empty right here to the cube. So when this empty rotates, it's going to take along for the ride all the other empties and the cube. I'm going to be creating a list of those empty locations right here. Okay, here is my list. Here's the variable that represents that list. And I have 4 coordinates, so X, Y, and Z, as I'm using a tuple that represents each one of those points. And notice that I'm using the cube's dimensions on the Z and the Y. I could have just used a number, for example. I know the dimensions of this cube is just 2 units. But the thing is that what if I change the size of the cube and I want to make sure that this code is updated and the locations of the empties work with different size cubes. So I'm using dimensions to make that happen. Okay, now let's get the code for the empty. So we're ready to loop over all the locations, but before I do that, I want to get the code that adds the empty into the scene. So I'm going to hover over the 3D viewport, hit Shift A, and then add the empty, the plane axis right here. And again, in the info panel down below, I'm just going to copy that code and I'm going to paste it right here. Again, I don't really need any of these arguments. They're going to be default for me. You can also see the full list of our arguments in the info panel, or sorry, in the interactive Python console right here by just pasting in that command and then hit tab, and it should show you the possible values of those parameters. All right, so that is my empty. I'm going to also update the location and grab the reference. So this is going to be empty. And again, I'm grabbing a reference to the empty that I just created, and then I'm using the reference to that empty and updating the location with some lock variable. And this is going to be something that I'll be extracting from the loop while I'm iterating over all these points right here. Okay, this is how the loop looks. I'm taking the list and I'm going over each one of these points, and each one of these points are going to be assigned to this variable right here, and I'm using this variable right here to set the location of the empty that we create in a given iteration of this for loop. Let's clear the scene by hitting AX and then delete and then running the script. Okay, here is the scene, and you can see already we have our empties placed in the correct location. Now that we have the empties in the right locations, we need to start parenting them. In this for loop right here, we're going to be parenting these empties, but there's a catch. We need to remember the previous empty. So for example, if we're creating this empty, we'll be parenting it to this empty. So we need to keep a reference to this empty around when we're creating this one so we can parent it. And to do that, we're going to be creating a separate variable to track the previous empty we have added. I'm going to go right here and add this variable. Okay, here is that variable. I've added also a comment to explain why I need this variable. I'm going to use this in the for loop, and I'll start updating it right away. So at the very end, after we're done with the parenting, we're going to assign the current created empty to this variable. So this will be updated each time we iterate through this for loop. Notice, by the way, that I've used none here. None in Python means nothing, means that this reference is not pointing to anything. And we can use this to our advantage. For example, the very first empty that we'll be adding, which is this one right here, it'll be the very first empty, and there wouldn't be any previous empty to parent this empty to. So we'll create an if statement right here, and we're going to check that if this previous empty exists. Python does this conversion automatically in the background, where it checks that if this actually is pointing to anything, it's going to return true, and we're going to execute the body of this statement. But if it's not pointing to anything, which is on the very first iteration of this for loop, we're going to skip this code right here. I'll also add a comment right here so we'll know what we're doing here. And to parent this current empty, I'm going to be using the parent property of our object empty, and then I'm parenting it to the previous empty. So let's see how this looks. I'm going to delete everything from the scene and then run the script. And you can see that there is a slight issue with the way that we've executed this code. And I'm going to move the cube away so we can take a better look. And you can see that it looks like everything was fine with the first one and maybe even fine with the second one. But then when we started to parent this empty to this empty, something went wrong. The empties are in a totally different location than we would expect. And the catch here is that we're not keeping the transform of the empties when we're parenting them. To fix this, we need to update the parent inverse matrix that gets set when we parent one object to another. This is done with the following code. So we're inverting that parent world matrix to keep the transform. So let's clear the scene and run our script. Okay, now it looks like everything should be parented, and let's check out the rotation. So I'm going to select the very first empty and then start rotating on the X. So I'm going to select the next one. Again, I haven't parented the cube, so that's just standing still, but you can see already that things are starting to make sense. All right. If you don't like the code that we wrote right here, you can change it. You can change it and use an operator that is used when parenting. But the catch there is you need to manually control the selected object and the active object. So, for example, if I want to parent this, so I'm holding Shift and selecting another empty. So this is still selected. Then Control P and then key transform. And in the info panel down below, we'll get the command that executes that parenting. I'll scroll all the way down. So there it is. I'm going to remove this type because that's the default. And now, since we're in the script and there is nothing really getting selected except the object that was created, we need to make sure that the previous empty is selective and active when we're running this operator. And unfortunately, you won't find this code in the info panel. You'll just have to know or Google around for this. And here's the code. So this line selects the previous empty. At this point, we're going to have the current empty that we just added into the scene selected and the previous empty. And also we'll need to make sure that the previous empty is active, and we'll be running this operator using this previous empty. So it should result in a similar scene. Let's clear the scene and run our script. And you can see that, and let's check that out. So I'm going to rotate this, rotate that. Yeah, it's parented in a similar way. And you can select whichever piece of code makes sense for you. I'll be going with this code right here. Later in the second part of this mini series, we'll be turning everything into functions, and I'm going to hide this code right here under a function that I'll create. If you like this code better, you can also keep it. It all depends on you. So I'll remove that and then set this. Now we need to parent the cube to the very last empty so it could start moving with all these empties, and we're going to be doing it right after the for loop, after we've parented all of the empties. And I'm going to be using the reference, the variable that we created at the very top, and that's going to be selecting that cube and then using and setting the parent property to the previous empty. So the previous empty will be the last empty that we'll be going over in this for loop. So let's see how that looks. I'm going to delete everything from the scene and run the script. And it looks like this, and it's not quite what we want. I'll show you what I mean. So when I start rotating this, as you can see that the cube is up in the air. This is not what we want. And the catch here is that we need to move this cube into the correct position. And actually, I think if I set this to just 1, this will be working correctly. I'm going to start. Okay, so now you can see that we're getting this rotation. All right. But since I did this by hand by moving the cube, I'm going to move this location setting from the very top of the script to the very bottom of the script, so it really makes sense when we're actually changing the location and for what reason. and I left a comment. And again, I'm using not hard-coded values, so not the ones that I had there before. I'm using the dimensions, so this should be correctly updated each time I change the size of the cube. Let's delete everything from the scene and run the script. And let's start changing the rotation, and you can see that we are animating. Of course, it's not going to be this cricket, but you get the idea. In a second, we'll be animating this. Now let's start animating this. Let's go right above here and create some variables that are going to be helping us animate these empties. Again, I created a comment for myself and for someone else who's reading this script. I've defined a variable that defines the length in frames, how long this animation is going to be lasting. I've created the current frame, so we're going to be tracking what the current frame is when we're going to be animating each one of those empties, and then we're going to be setting the angle that we'll be turning these empties. Okay, let's go here into the for loop and add the code that adds the keyframes. And here is the code. Again, I'm adding some comments for myself. I'm using the current empty we added into the scene. I'm using the insert keyframe function. I'm using the rotation Euler property on the empty, and then setting the location of the first keyframe. Again, this, if you're not familiar with this rotation Euler property, if you rotate anything in the scene and then go into the info panel down below, see we have the rotation Euler property. This is exactly this piece of text, so it's telling Blender what property we want to insert the keyframe into. And let's, before I start running the script, I'll add a timeline so we can see the keyframes by this and this. And let's delete everything from the scene and run our script. All right, and you can see already that we have some keyframes here. If I select the very first empty, it has keyframes here. Nothing is happening because we haven't changed the rotation, the Euler rotation, and in between these two frames. But we've added the frame, so that's a start. And again, right here, we're just calculating the next keyframe, and that's going to be, we're going to use the rotation length, so this 15 that we defined here, so that's in frames, and we're calculating the next frame and then setting that as the location of our last keyframe in our scene for this particular empty. Now let's rotate our cube, and here is the code where we're setting again some comment or rotate. We're using the Euler rotation property about the X. Then we're using the math module. We need to import it at the very top of this function of this script in just a second. We're converting the angle right here that we've set, which is -90, into radians. Blender requires us to convert degrees into radians. So this is what we're doing here. Let's import this math module into the top of this script. So that's there now. Now we have math imported. Again, these Python modules is what we're calling them. Think of them as Blender add-ons, right? But these are Python add-ons that extend Python's functionality. Now let's run our script, but there's going to be a slight problem here, but I'll still run the script and show you what it looks like. So let's run that, and you can see that something's already wrong. The cube is down below here. I'm going to run our animation, and it's doing something pretty funky. Maybe this is what you're going for, but this is not what I want it to look like. The problem here is that we're updating the Euler rotation and then of the empty, and then we're using that current rotation and then parenting to the next empties, and that kind of all cascades into this issue right here. So before I finish this for loop, I want to reset the the Euler rotation. Like so. Again, we're adding a comment, and then I'm just setting the Euler rotation about the x-axis to 0, so this will mess up our parenting. So let's delete everything from the scene and run our script. And let's check this out. I'm gonna start hitting play by hitting space, and you can see right away that we're getting this nice rolling animation. And if you're enjoying this tutorial and learning something new, make sure to hit the like button on this video. It'll help me tremendously. And as promised at the beginning of the video, here's some challenges for you. For your very first challenge, I want you to update this code and make the cube roll farther than it's rolling right now. So let's see, I want to make it roll a couple more times. What changes do you need to make in this code to make that happen? So go ahead and pause the video now and try this on your own. Think of what you can change and then come back to this video and I'll show you how I would have done it. All right, there's a couple ways you can achieve this particular challenge, and one of them is maybe you could just copy these locations and just make this empty locations list longer by just copying this one after the other in the same order. This way making this list longer and the number of locations kind of going in a circle. Another way which I want to do is I just want to create a separate variable that represents the number of revolutions of this cube, and then use a for loop to repeat this code right here. So I've created a new variable, set the number of rotations or revolutions of the cube, and then I created another for loop. I need to indent all this by just selecting this by holding shift and then hitting tab to indent it. So now everything here is part of this for loop. So now it's just going to be repeating however many times I set in this particular variable. So let's clear the scene. Let's run the script and let's run that animation. And you can see that cube is rolling now twice as far since I set this to 2. And for your second challenge, what do I need to update in the script to change the location where this cube is rolling? So go ahead and pause the video now and give that a try. All right, let's take a look at how I would have done this. And the trick here is to understand how we can actually move all these empties. And since they're all parented, there's one empty that is the root of this whole rotation. And it's this very first empty. I've just selected it, and if I hit G to start moving the empty and then hit X to move it, for example, along the X-axis. So if I move the location, the very first empty, that updates the whole location of where this cube is rolling. And the catch here is we need to understand how to set the location of this first empty. The thing is that we can take a look into this for loop, and there's this if statement right here, and we can use this to get the very first empty. The catch is that the only time when we're looping through this for loop, and even through this outer for loop, the only time when this is going to be false, or meaning this will be none, is on the very first iteration. So this means that if we create an else block to this if statement, we can get that root empty, like so. So now we're just creating a new variable that's called root empty. And since now we have this, we can start updating the location right after the end of this for loop, like so. So we're just using the reference that we created, and again using the location property, and inside the X on the X-axis, then setting to whatever value you want. I'm going to delete everything from the scene and rerun the script. So now if we run our animation, you can see that it's getting executed in another location. All right, in the second part of this mini series, we'll be updating the code of this script with some functions, so we're going to organize the code in a better way. So make sure to subscribe for that. Also check out my Beginner Blender Python tutorials playlist. It has a lot of other topics I cover, for example, for loops and if statements if you're not familiar with these. And that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching.